Ready?
I should be live now. Okay, I think I'm live. In case there's any technical problems, I'll just wait a minute as people start arriving. For anyone who's here already, welcome. I'll be getting started momentarily.
Good. Je suis là.
Excellent. I see people are starting to join on. There's 7 people now, up to 9. So if you're just joining, welcome to the Virtual Science Camp's grand opening session. I'm your host, Michael Gregory. In this session, I'll be starting off with a recap of what the Virtual Science Camps are, who I am, a couple of highlights from the trial camps earlier this week, introducing some of our amazing guest hosts that'll be joining me over the couple of weeks, and a small preview of some of the experiments coming up this week. Excellent. Thank you, Youssef, confirming that I am live. And again, I'm just going to repeat the welcome message for a couple of times in case anyone's a minute late joining or so. I know I myself had some technical problems getting in, and I spent many more hours than I wanted trying to figure out the audio. So can anyone, including Youssef or Saley, who have already figured out how to comment, let me know, can you hear me loud enough? Is the audio seeming to work okay? And for those of you who want to comment on it, you can see there's a comment section, so I can see your comments live. I have a wonderful assistant who'll be relaying some of that to me in case I get distracted by some of the experiments I'm doing. Loud and clear, volume is good, perfect. Thank you for letting me know, everyone, on that. Also for anyone who's having trouble commenting, there's an overflow document. I'm gonna send you a link to that in just a sec once I manage to pull the link. And that's just, in some cases, if you don't have a Google account, you won't be able to comment. So that you're not left out and you're able to provide feedback too, then there's this overflow one. So I should have had that link handy. Sorry, that's one thing I forgot to have. So I'm just going to look that up momentarily. Oui, c'est à travers le vidéo. Okay, I'm back, and sorry for that delay. I'm just adding a link to the overflow comments document, so if anyone's having problems logged in, if you don't have a YouTube account, you can't comment, and you still want to say anything to me, you can say it there. So sorry for that delay. Now finally starting, so introducing myself again. I'm Michael Gregory, your host for My Favorite Experiments Virtual Science Camps. So in this session, I'm going to briefly explain who I am, what these virtual science camps are, then take you through a couple of experiments, highlights from this week and previews of next week, as well as introducing some of the special guest hosts that we'll have coming up. So before I get into any of the experiments, I want to draw your attention, if you didn't yet see on the schedule of things for next week, there's some recommended materials for anyone to follow along at home with the experiments for today. If you don't have those, or if you didn't have the list yet, you can find the list in the video's description. So you click on the schedule for week 1, and in that schedule, it'll tell you a couple of things, including a water bottle like I have here, some drinking straws, some hard-shelled candy like M&Ms or Skittles. In France, it's very hard to find M&Ms that aren't peanut M&Ms. That's why I've reverted to Skittles. Either work fine for the experiment. Some kind of dish or plate, balloons, and some aluminum foil. So I really hope everyone has gathered these materials and you're able to follow along with me. If you're not able to follow along live, hopefully you still enjoy seeing some of the experiments, and hopefully you'll repeat them as soon as you get a chance later. Okay, so to start off, the virtual science camps, as most of you who are watching this, I'm confined to my beautiful, lovely, big apartment in Paris. It's almost as much as what you can see here. And I've decided to keep on teaching and traveling around the world. One of my favorite things to do is to teach hands-on science to people all over. So a lot of you, I've been to your school, or at least been to your country with your teacher or friend of yours, taught some of your classmates some of my experiments. So this is a way to share that forwards and to test out people getting to do it live at home at the same time. So there'll be camp sessions daily throughout the week. Most of them will be on Zoom so that I can interact directly with everyone. Some of them will be on YouTube live stream like this one is. Some people prefer to be a little bit more anonymous, but also sometimes if there's more than 100 people, then my free Zoom account caps out, so then I switch to this as the format. And for each of them, there will be a list of things that hopefully you should be able to find around your house. If you own them already, it shouldn't take more than a couple minutes to dig them up. If you don't own them, if you're in somewhere like Paris, like a lot of you are, and it's difficult to go out and get new things, there's often things you can substitute for it. So please let me know if you have any substitute material, like any questions about the materials and things you could substitute for it. Because the idea is to come up with experiments that are as easy for you guys to do at home as possible. Okay, so to overview a couple of highlights from this week, the first sessions were on air and balloons, on electrostatics, and on light. So the first one I'm going to go over involves 2 balloons. So I've taken a red one and a pink one, and I'm going to ask you to put one of those in a freezer if you have a freezer, or a fridge if you don't have a freezer, in a cold place, and we're going to get back to them in just a minute. So I'm just going to put this pink one in my freezer. Okay, and while it's cooling down, I'm going to highlight one of my very favorite experiments ever. I call this one the straw trick for static electricity. And there's 2 reasons why I love this one so much. The first is that it's a really easy and simple way to show static electricity. The second reason is that I learned this from a student. And I think it's really important to learn from your students, to listen to them, and also just like I want to listen to you guys, like I'm watching the comment section, there's a lot of people saying hello and thank you, so I'd like to say hello to everyone as well. But when you've got, like right now, I've got theoretically 39 people connected to screens. Some of that, there's multiple people together, but like I'm going to say about 39 people listening to me now. There's probably 39 times more ideas than what I can think of myself. And the only difference between me and any of you is that I've spent a lot of time practicing, teaching, and thinking about it. But the more minds we have on something, the better. So if anyone has any suggestions for better experiments or ideas, I'm always all ears, just like when I'm in an actual classroom. Okay, so I'm going to take these 2 straws and a piece of paper. And actually, I'm going to use a piece of paper that we have here in France now, an attestation de déplacement dérogatoire. And we need to sign one of these and date it with the time when we want to leave the house. I was checked by the police with this one in my hands yesterday. And I'm just going to take it against these straws and rub the straws a little bit to try and transfer an electric charge. And now with that straw on top of the bottle, And I'm just going to change the camera a little bit down so that you can see the bottle a little bit better. I want everyone to make a prediction. When I bring the orange straw close to the blue straw, is it going to attract it and pull it near, repel it and push it away, or is it going to stay, like do nothing, stay exactly where it is? So I want a couple of people to try commenting, either attract, repel, or nothing. Moment of silence waiting for people to comment. Just going to check the overflow.
We push it away, we stay, I think, push away.
Okay, so a lot of people are saying push away, and a lot of people are saying it's negative. So it's negatively charged. Either you know a little bit about electrostatics, or you just learned it with me on Tuesday. But yeah, when I bring it near, we see some very clear repulsion there. So we see it's pushed away. Then the next question, if I take the paper, which I rubbed against the straw, when I bring that near the straw, is it going to push away, pull towards, or do absolutely nothing?
Attract.
Okay, and at least some people say attract. So let's check that out. And we do see attraction going on there. Now the least intuitive one, now I'm going to take my hands. And those had almost nothing to do with it. And when I bring my hand near it, is it going to attract, repel, or nothing? Someone says do nothing. Okay, thank you. And anyone disagree that it's going to do nothing?
Nothing.
A lot of people say nothing. So let's test this out. And hopefully at least some of you have a straw at home so you can test this out at home. Just going to wait for it to stop moving. And now I'm going to bring my hand near again. And we see it attracting. Now, some of you might think, okay, maybe I have special magical hands because I'm a special magical scientist. Or maybe you think I was doing something off camera when you weren't looking. So I really hope that some of you were trying this at home. Once I get the technical aspect down a little bit more, and especially for their classes on Zoom, then I'm going to have you guys show me that you're doing this at home as well. But when we bring, maybe I'll need to charge it again because it's losing some charge over time. Yeah, so it should be attracted, and it'll be attracted not just to my hands, but if I pick any object from around, like this water bottle, it's attracted to the water bottle, the pack of M&Ms, that works as well. The orange, and it turns out that it's electromagnetic induction, so the charged straw is inducing an opposite and attractive charge on it. So that's a quick overview of some of the stuff we did in Monday's session on static electricity. Moving on, those balloons I put in the freezer should be cold. If anyone at home also put one if anyone at home also put one in the freezer, please get it out now for the next experiment. Okay, so this next one, I have a very cold balloon and a room temperature balloon that are both the same model. Before the cold one warms up, I'm going to try blowing it up, thinking about how hard I need to blow to put air into it. Now I'm going to do the same thing and compare the force it takes to fill the room temperature balloon. And in my case, and I hope it's the same for some of you following along at home, it took a little bit more effort to fill up the warm balloon. And the reasoning behind that is because balloons, balloons are made of rubber, and rubber, its stretchiness comes from a thermodynamic process. that's unlike springs that use an electrostatic process. What I mean by that is that balloons are made of long, stretchy molecules, kind of like big pieces of spaghetti. And when you stretch the balloon out, then those untangle, but they're kind of sticky, so they want to get back tangled up again. And as you untangle, you need to do work against the molecules, and that causes them to gain kinetic energy and to be vibrating harder, so they're a little bit warmer. And when it pulls back in, it cools down because it's absorbing that energy. When there's more thermal energy around, so a warmer balloon, it'll have more energy to pull back in, so it'll give a little bit more resistance. You can feel this if you're following on at home. If you put it on your cheek or on your lip is the best place to feel small changes in temperature. And pull it wide, and you should feel it warm for about a second until it cools. And let it stretch in, and you'll feel it's cold again. So pull it out warm, let it in cool. Out warm, in cool. So that was a quick overview of one of the experiments from the introductory session on air and balloons that I did on Monday. One last demonstration before we get to the guest hosts and the experiments to come. So I'm going to inflate this balloon. Okay, and I inflated it just about as much as I thought it could go without popping. Okay, now I'm going to set it down on my desk. And I'm just going to take this orange and I'm going to peel it next to the balloon. Now, those of you who joined me for this session on balloons will already know what's going to happen. But when I first saw this, I was pretty amazed. Notice I have nothing hidden in my hands. I don't have long sleeves to hide any objects. I'm even going to clear off the desk so you can see that there's nothing sharp or pointy on the desk. I'll even put it in this tray, which I'm going to use for a different experiment. And you can see there's nothing tricky going on here. And I'm just going to take this orange. Hopefully it works quickly. The other day I was trying to film this. So it worked quickly that time, and peeling an orange next to a balloon will tend to pop it. If the balloon is really well inflated. If it wasn't blown up to its limit, it would take a lot more peeling. And I left everyone in the session on air wondering about why that happens. So I'm going to let any of you curious ones know, kind of spoiling the answer. The answer is leminin. And leminin is an organic molecule that's very volatile. When you peel an orange or any citrus fruit, you'll get a little bit of that released into the air. And it turns out that leminin is a good solvent for rubber. So it can dissolve rubber. Now, there's not enough leminin in an orange to dissolve anything near a whole balloon. But as you know from trying to pop a balloon, even a tiny hole in a balloon will cause the whole thing to pop. So we can have that little bit of orange peel. You see, that's the only bit that I needed to take off there. And that managed to pop the whole balloon. Okay, so that's it for the preview of some of the stuff I'd done earlier this week. Now I'm going to get on to welcoming some of the guest hosts that'll be lined up for this week. So I'm going to very shortly be calling Gordana and Sofia in Požega, Serbia, who have an experiment prepared for us. My assistant's just going to make sure that they're ready on a Zoom call, ready to go. And just the idea of guest hosts. So I've been inviting some of my friends and teachers I know from around the world to give some of these sessions with me as special guest hosts. Not surprisingly, it takes a little bit of time to coordinate and figure out when people are available. So none of those sessions are yet on the schedule, but I hope to be adding those over the next couple of days. They'll be added onto the same schedule. The link's in the description below. And most of them will also be on Zoom, so we'll get to interact directly with them. If we think it'll be more popular, if more than 80 or 100 people try and sign up, we might switch to a YouTube format. Je vais chercher ça. I'm going to sort out some technical issues for the meeting in just a minute. Hold on there, and I'll connect everything through. Yeah. So just to explain again, so the guest hosts, we've got a couple of really exciting people who seem to be willing to be guest hosts. Not everyone's confirmed for sure. So if something doesn't work out, don't say I'm a liar. I'm not saying any of these people for sure will be joining me, but already a couple of ones lined up are friends of mine who I work with in Paris. Adrian Thompson, Karen Fry, Alan Damon have said that they'll try and work out something. We're still discussing the details on some of those. I'm really excited about my friend Anya at CERN. She's developing something in particle physics for kids. She has a lot of experience in science performance, and I know whatever she comes up with is going to be amazing. Those of you who don't know CERN, you really should know it. It's the biggest particle collider the biggest science lab in the world, and they have the biggest particle colliders. It's a very high concentration of very smart people. I've also been in touch with my contacts at the Joint Institute for Nuclear Research in Russia. It's kind of like the Russian counterpart for CERN. They're doing really neat stuff there, and some parts of particle physics that CERN doesn't dedicate as much resources to. Like it's in Russia where they discovered the 8 newest elements of the periodic table, including element number 118, Oganessian, named after Yuri Oganessian, who's the head of the Florov lab there. I've actually met him in person and talked with the only living person currently living person, who an element on the periodic table is named after. So something coming out of there should be really exciting. Once I go to sort out the technical issues, we'll be joined by Sofia and Gordon and Pojega. There's also Maria, who is saying some of her students in, I think in Novi Sad, I forget where in Serbia she is, will be joining in as well. So we should see some experiments from there, as well as from Marinko, my good friend Marinko Petkovic in Novi Sad as well. So some great things to come out of Serbia. I also have some people in North America who might be joining as guest hosts, so some cool things coming up. But rather than seeing me talk about it, I'm going to sort out the issues and get that preview going. In case it takes a minute for me to sort out the technical issues, I highly recommend you look at the schedule for next week and decide what ones are interesting for you, and if you have any questions about materials or things to sign up for. Ça va si je t'envoie le...
Ouais. Je vais voir pourquoi elle me demande de mot de passe.
Okay, so with some technical hiccups, we're starting to get things available. On one device, I have Marinko and Novi Sad, who's eager to say hi to everyone and share some experiments. Behind me, sort of fading in, I have my good friend Adrian, who will get. Can we get the audio for Adrian?
Sure.
And Marinko, I'm just going to put you on mute for a second.
Il a pas de microphone.
I will take my computer, don't worry.
Okay, perfect.
I'm going inside because it's very sunny here.
Beautiful, yeah.
It's very sunny in my
Adrian, can you join your audio to the conference?
Okay, Adrian, can you hear me?
Make a sign with your head. Can you hear?
Okay, so I'm going to take a couple minutes to sort out some of the technical issues. I'm going to mute things and leave you with a beautiful background of my Parisian apartment for a second. Feel free to take a break, and I'll be back in about 5 minutes, hopefully joined by my wonderful guest hosts. Okay, thank you everyone for sticking with me. We're almost ready to go introducing some of the guest hosts now. There was also a question about when there were past sessions. So I trialed out 3 sessions earlier this week to start teaching myself how to do this as well. I put a link in the comments if you want to check out the contents of past ones. There's one where there's a live stream of the video that was recorded that's here on the YouTube channel. The things from Zoom I didn't record. But if you're interested, if people are interested, let me know, and I'm happy to do any of those sessions over again. Just like with those sessions, it's worth mentioning for today, sorting through these technical issues, or probably most days this week, there's going to be some sort of issue that comes up as I'm teaching myself how to do this. Okay, and I think we have my friend Adrian ready to introduce as a guest host. Adrian, you ready?
Sure.
Excellent. So I'm going to switch the camera to him. You guys might be noticing this is a very sloppy setup where I'm actually filming an image of Adrian on a projector. The reason why that happened was because apparently it takes more than 5 hours for me to teach myself how to screen share and have audio at the same time while streaming. So in the future, I'll have that sorted out, but that seems like a couple more hours than I had today. Okay, so Adrian, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. So, hi, I'm Adrian Thompson. I work with Michael in L'École Jeanne-Manuel here in Paris. And I'm looking forward to sharing my ideas for a homemade Newton meter.
Excellent, thank you. And I'm looking forward to doing that session with you. For those of you who don't know Adrian, he's an awesome teacher, always making cool things. No, put Adrian back on, I've been told. Oh, okay. While I'm talking about Adrian, I'll keep the image of him there. Okay. But he's always really supportive and a great person to bounce ideas off of when trying to make things. So I'm really excited about the session he's going to guest host with me. Thanks again, Adrian. Okay, and do we have Marinko or Gordana ready to go?
Marinko.
Okay, so
Mais il n'y a pas de vidéo.
Marinko's connected. We're just trying to get his video up and running. So as my assistant's trying to get that up and running, Marinko, I met at CERN in 2018. There's a lot of amazing teachers I met from all around the world there. A number of you, judging from some of the names and comments I saw when you signed up for the mailing list, there's a number of you in Istanbul who are Ozen students. So I'd like to say hi to all of them before we switch to Marinko. And merhaba. He told me that's how to say hello to you guys in Turkish. So merhaba, and welcome to everyone joining from Turkey. Thank you for joining in this. I'm excited to have you guys along, and hopefully he'll end up joining as a guest host. Well, and I see we now do have some video. I'll switch to my video stream there. So here's Marinko. Marinko and Novi Sad, thank you again for joining and for volunteering to be a guest host for a session later this week. Is your audio on, Marinko? Can you hear me? And can you try speaking so we can hear you? Marinko, are you there? Okay, Marinko can't hear me.
Il n'y a pas son microphone.
Okay.
On essaie avec Gordana.
Okay, we're going to try with Gordana, and Sarah will try and sort things out for Marinko. Okay, so now we can see Gordana and Sofia in Pojevo, Serbia. and I'm blocking the screen with my computer. I'm just going to move that away so we can see it a little bit better. Or maybe I do want to block that so we don't have the participant list. So hello again, Gordana and Sofia. Can you hear me? Excellent, and I can hear you. Can someone in the comments say, can you hear them okay? Or do we need to adjust the volume somehow?
I can hear fine.
Perfect, thank you.
Not well from YouTube.
Not well from YouTube, okay. So we're just gonna try and increase the volume. Le volume est au max, ça va? Okay, so let's try that again. Can you guys try speaking again and we'll see how the volume level is?
Yeah, okay, we can. Can you hear us now?
Okay, can anyone in the comments let me know, is that any better now?
It's fine for me, yeah. I can hear very clearly.
Yes.
Yes, it's better? Okay, perfect. Okay, so Welcome again, Sophia and Gordana, and thank you again for joining me and for your enthusiasm throughout this.
No, thank you for letting us join the conference, and we're really happy to be here.
Oh, thank you. So you've prepared a preview of one of your experiments to come, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. So I'll turn things over to you now then.
Okay. So today we filmed a YouTube video on my mom's channel, and the YouTube video was about escaping the reality that we are in right now because we are all in isolation. So we can't go outside and we can't really see people, let's say. So we have a telescope here, and we can use it at night with the beautiful sky. So we feel connected to the nature in a way. And we have a microscope here, which we did an experiment with today. And here are some of the substances we use today, such as sea salt, yeast, and sea sand. Of course, we can show you right now because you have to go to the channel and watch it. But yeah, pretty interesting. You should just watch.
Oh, excellent. So I'm looking forward to seeing the video of that. And I'll put a video in the description of this video as soon as the live stream stops to recommend everyone go and watch that. And it's also worth noting that Sophia and Gordana have also been making a couple other videos last week. And so I'm going to add those to, I think I've added them already. If not, I'm going to add them to my playlist. Some of you may have seen I have a playlist of COVID confinement videos with ideas of things to do at home. I started that before I started the virtual camps as a way to share ideas. And then I got kind of lonely and thought it'd be good to interact with people as well. So for the interaction nature, most of my focus is on doing live things with you guys. But I hope to add some of my own videos as well. So you should definitely check out some of her stuff. It's really cool, like measuring the wavelength of light with a microwave. And I especially like how you guys end the videos with inspiring stories of things other people, especially scientists, but other people have done in the confinement. And so thanks again for joining me. I'm looking forward to seeing more stuff from you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now we're going to try going back to Marinko and Novi Sad. Hopefully we have the sound working now.
Yes, Michael, how can I help you from Novi Sad?
Excellent. So now we have Marinko back, only we have his video blocked. Can we spotlight his video so everyone can? Okay, there we go. There's Marinko. It's great to see you again.
Hi.
And you all too. Hi.
Hello.
So Marinko is one of my favorite teachers. I said I met him at CERN in 2018. What?
2008.
2018. So here's me next to Marinko, like we're back together again. And he's the one who first introduced me to Serbia and what amazing teachers they have there. So brief history of that. I was biking across Europe in 2018, one of the second big trips for me with my favorite experiments. And when I was coming up to Serbia, I asked Marinko if he'd be able to meet me and maybe show me some experiments. And not only was he very welcoming to bring me in, he also introduced me to tons of other great teachers in his country. So since then, I've been back to Serbia twice more, including my destination for a trip from Paris this fall. Oh, excellent. And there's Ozan as well. Ozan, I sent you a link if you want to join the Zoom, and I'll do a video of you after Marinko. But turning things over, turning things over to Marinko, just like anytime I ask Marinko for something, he said he'd love to help out. So Marinko, you said you're going to be able to share an experiment or two later on this week or next week, right?
Yeah. I already done some experiments for my students. You can find it on my YouTube channel. As you know, I work only with students with disabilities. And I force my students to do some experiments because they are going to learn and know the skills for normal living. So all my experiments are based to that. I missed you again. Oh, Oscar.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. What about you, man?
I'm right now in my garden.
Okay.
And I'm celebrating my birthday today.
Okay. Happy birthday.
Oh, happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday,
Marinko. Oh, that's wonderful.
So, oh, that's wonderful. It's very sunny here, but most of my friends cannot come to celebrate with me. Okay, I prepared one experiment for dissolving, and I can also show you some experiments in physics with music. That's very easy to explain.
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah. And so once we figure out timing and what we'll do for that, I'll add that to the schedule. So anyone interested in that, I strongly recommend you to sign up for the sessions with Marinko as the guest host for that. And Marinko, I want to put a link to your YouTube channel and your videos in this description of my video, just so people know. Will most of those videos be in Serbian or in English?
Right now, all my videos I use for education because my students cannot use any other platform for learning. They only use YouTube. So most of my videos are in Serbian, but I can translate it easily into English or any other language. Doesn't matter.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. I might end up working on that with you at some point. So thank you again for joining us, Marinko.
Okay.
And so now we'll switch to Ozan if he's still there, if he wants to say hello to everyone.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm a teacher from Turkey, Istanbul, and I am joining with my students. And we will follow you during this month. Probably we will hang down 1 month until the end of April. So my students will follow you, and I will assign some homeworks for them to work on them.
That sounds excellent. It's excellent to have you and your students along for the adventure. It's good to see you again,
Yes.
Ozan.
Okay, thank you. So I have about 120 students working here now. Probably later, but now they are about 30 something like that.
Okay, that's awesome. I'm really excited about that, and I've already seen some of them sending comments on my videos and signing up for the mailing list. So it's great to have so many eager students in Turkey along as well.
Okay, very nice.
Okay, thank you, Ozan. Okay, and I think that's it for the guest hosts for now. So I'll go back to a preview of some of the experiments to come up for this week. Thank you again to all the guest hosts who said hello. And can we switch to the calendar? Two less on there, yeah. Okay, and just to preview some of the experiments to come. So I was just showing you the guest hosts here, and you guys have a link in the description. So I'm going to stop filming myself on a screen, but just to show you, this is the document I'm going to ask you guys to refer to. This is a schedule of the upcoming sessions for this week. And I'm going to do a quick 5-minute or less preview of something from each of those sessions, so you kind of know what to expect. And if you're not sure which ones you want to sign up for, then you'll be able to see what interests you most. And again, in case I wasn't clear enough mentioning it before, all of the sessions with guest hosts are yet to be scheduled. So don't worry if you don't find those yet on the schedule. I'll be getting that information out to anyone who signed up for the mailing list and anyone who checks back on the schedule as soon as that information is available. One other set of guest hosts who I didn't introduce yet, who I'm very eager about, is a couple of scientists from the Pasteur Institute, who told me they'd likely be willing to take a small break from their work on the coronavirus itself to do a question and answer period with anyone who wants to join in on that. So I'm really excited about that. I know they're extremely busy right now. They're doing important work, so I don't want to put any pressure on them. I'm not going to say for sure they're going to join us this week, but that's something that is in discussion, and I'm really looking forward to the possibility of that, because I know I have a lot of questions about the research that's going on, and I think a lot of you out there probably do as well. Okay, so to overview some of the experiments for this week. Tomorrow's session at 11 in the morning. So if you want to sign up for that one, I'd recommend signing up once I put the sign up form online. So the schedule's online. The sign up form will be online shortly after this session once you've had a preview of what's to come. The first two things with that are going to be dead simple. The first one is to look at how your eyes work. So I want everyone watching, you don't even need material. It's okay if you didn't get the list of required material. Just take your hands, put them together and make a hole. And I want you to look through that hole at a distant object. Like here, I'm going to try and line it up with the webcam. It's kind of awkward, but I'm going to look at that blue, the part of the French flag there. So look at something and keep both your eyes open and line it up against whatever thing it is there. And then I want you to close one eye. So here I'm closing my right eye, and then close my left eye. And when one of those two eyes is closed, you should see what you're looking at is no longer visible. And that's because when you're looking with both your eyes, often you'll have one eye that you're taking slightly more information from than the other. We call that the dominant eye. Some people it will predominantly be the left, some it'll predominantly be the right. Some have no clear dominance one way or the other. But that's a quick test to see which eye is dominant. And that leads directly into the next one, looking at the importance of binocular vision. So for this one, if you have simple materials like 2 pens or pencils, I want you to grab those. If not, just use the tips of your fingers. Hopefully everyone at least has fingers here. I apologize to any fingerless people who are watching this. Hopefully if you don't have fingers, you at least have pens. So take the pens or pencils and hold them about arm's length away. And with both eyes open, I want you to try and put the tips of the two together. And you should find it's relatively easy for most of you. Then with one eye open, the other eye closed, try and do the exact same thing, and you'll find often you're getting it slightly ahead or slightly behind the other. Because from one eye, you're only seeing it from one point of view, and you're not seeing the slightly different angles required to have accurate depth perception. So your depth perception is going to lose out a lot if you're just using one eye and having what we call monocular vision, rather than binocular vision with both eyes. So that with my left eye, you can see how bad I am at lining it up. And I've missed those there, oh yeah, by a couple of centimeters. So try that with both eyes to compare monocular versus binocular vision. Okay, and
Do you usually use your left hands?
left hand, me? I'm right-handed, so I usually use my right hand. Although when I was a student in high school in grade 11, although I was taking mainly grade 12 courses, which is confusing. But anyways, for a semester, I gave up writing with my right hand to force myself to learn with my left. Because I was thinking it'd be great to be able to write with both hands at the same time and write twice as fast. Didn't really work out. I got about 3/4 as good with my left as my right, but it was always slower and more awkward. So I know for sure I definitely am right-handed. Even if I try and learn with my left and only use that for a couple of months, I can do it, but I don't like it. Like I am properly right-handed. Okay, so for the next one, the ideal case is if you have a little bit of tape. That was on the list of recommended materials. If you don't have tape, there's kind of a trick around that you can use if you have a pen with a cap. So I'm going to take a little bit of paper. I forget if I put paper on the list, but for any of the camps, I'm going to assume you have a couple of things like a bit of paper you could rip up at short notice. So I have 2 squares of paper here. Well, one is the important thing. And I'm going to slip it under the cap of the pen. So it's there and I can hold something up on it. And I'm going to take a second pen. clean that up later. Okay, a second pen. And in this case, like in the pen model, it'll be 2 pens of 2 different colors. If you're using tape and you don't have a pen cap, take the tape. Even when I don't have students, I need to find the ends of rolls of tape. Tape dispenser is broken, so I'm going to grab scissors. Okay, so the ideal case is using tape, and I'm going to take this piece of paper, and before I tape it, I'm just going to write on it in one color, and I'm going to write a 3-letter word. So here I have the 3-letter word ape. And I'm going to tape that at the end of a pencil or pen or straw. Okay, so now when it comes into view, you can see that it says ape on it. Now I'm going to take the other one, and I'm going to write another 3-letter word. And this one has the 3-letter word I on it. Oh, by the way, this one works a little bit better if you have a partner who's doing it and you don't know what the words are. But you can do it yourself as long as you're kind of honest with yourself. Okay, so I've got the 2 sticks that have 2 different colors, 2 different 3-letter words on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to close one of my eyes. So now I'm only looking out of my right eye. And I'm going to look forwards the whole time. So I'm going to be watching the webcam. If I look away, then I want everyone to start yelling at their screen in frustration and maybe mention in the comments that I stopped looking straight ahead. Because if I look to the side like this, that ruins my results and I need to start again. So I need to be looking forwards at all times. I'll move the webcam slightly closer so that you can kind of see I'm not cheating there. Okay, so looking straight ahead this whole time. And I'm going to take one of the objects, and I don't know which one it is. Well, I kind of do, but pretending I don't know which one it is. And if you're with a friend, have the friend like mix them up so you can't tell. And I'm just going to bring it closer to me, sweeping it out, looking for it the whole time. And I'm going to see when I first start seeing it come into vision. And here, it's about here for me. And I can't look, so I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing that's about like 20 degrees from horizontal. And I'm going to bring it closer and closer until I can see what color is written on the paper. And it's around there I'm starting to see color. And that corresponds about 30 degrees from straight ahead. But I can't yet read what word's on there. And as I bring it closer to the front, I want to see how close it needs to get to straight ahead until I see the word. And this is the trickiest part. You're really tempted to look away from straight ahead to where you can see it, like where your attention is held. If you need to, one trick for this is if you turn your whole head, and then your eye needs to be forced like as far to the side, and then you can kind of remember to keep it there. And it's only when I get like here, and then I need to turn it, and I can read the text on it, and I can read that it says I. And that helps teach us about the structure of the retina of the eye. Because when I'm looking straight forwards, all the light that gets through the eye hits the retina in a more or less straight line to where it came from. So coming from over there, when I first started to see it, it's hitting my retina at an angle of about 120 degrees from straight ahead, like 30 degrees from sideways. And it's there that I start having any rod cells on my eye that can detect form, motion, or that there's anything there. But it's a very low density of these rod cells. So I can detect something's there, but I can't detect much about it. If I'm not in the middle of doing an experiment, I'd either turn my eyes or turn my whole head so that I could focus it on a part of my retina that has more rod cells, and I can see more detail. Where I started to see color, so that was about here. That corresponds to an angle of about 30 degrees from straight ahead. So we have an angle about that big of vision where our eyes can see color. And that corresponds to about 30 degrees of the retina on the back of the eye that are covered with both rod cells, like we saw before, but cone cells which also sense color. So to sense color, you can only sense that in about the middle 30% of the vision from each eye. And then to see fine details like writing, to be able to read text, then that's only on the innermost part of the eye. And then we have a much higher density of rod cells again. And that's to detect fine details of form. There's similar numbers of cone cells to the rest of that like inner 30% of the eye. But that 5%, or like five degrees worth of the eye, the fovea, that's got a really high density of rod cells to detect fine details of form. And anytime that you're reading something, then the light needs to be incident on the fovea there. That's the only way you can identify characters. And generally the distance you'd read something away. So I'm gonna like grab a book to show you like the distance I'd read it. Then as I look along the page, then the amount that's in focus in the fovea corresponds to about 3 to 5 letters. Like if I moved it much closer, I could get more than 3 letters in focus, but like a normal reading distance, you can only see a couple of letters, so your eyes are moving all the time. I'm just going to demonstrate that, and I can't see my own eyes doing this, so I'm going to hope it's doing what I normally do. But as I'm reading, you should be able to see my eyes following. And the eyes need to move because otherwise I'd only be seeing 3 letters at a time. Okay, so that's an overview of some of the stuff in tomorrow's session on the eye. Tuesday's session, I'm not going to preview anything for that because it's a building challenge. So it'll be building spaghetti and marshmallow towers. It's based on a famous design challenge that I've done a number of times over the years with students, but I've never done it virtually with breakout rooms in Zoom. So it's going to be pretty cool to test that out. It'll probably be a bit of a smaller session. It's one that will work out if there's not a huge number of people. So if a lot of people sign up for it, I might cap the number or break it into 2 sessions with an alternate time. But the idea there will be to interact with the other participants. So it's important if you sign up for that one, it'd be a good idea to be ready to have your webcam and microphone on, because I'm going to divide you into smaller groups of 4 of you to work together to build things over a distance. So that's Tuesday's one. Il y a une question? So that's Tuesday's one on construction challenge. I think on Wednesday, I'm just going to double check my schedule. I think I put the M&M diffusion one on there. Yes, M&M diffusion. So I'm going to preview this one as I keep telling you about it. For the actual session, I'll have sorted out the technical things so that I have a second camera going. I apologize for the awkwardness of it here, but I'm just going to do it on either a plate or a glass dish. For the session, if you have a glass dish like this, it's slightly better, but a plate will work fine as well. And I'm going to put it on a solid colored background. Solid colored background, just so we can see the effect that's going on here. And once I get it set up, I'll move in a little bit closer as well. But you can see it fairly big there. And I'm going to fill this dish with water. Just about a height of 1 centimeter or so, not even. So here, the very precise quantity, some water. So there's some water in the bottom of the dish. And I'm going to add some Skittles. I call this the M&M diffusion one because it was first shown to me with M&Ms, and I think that's how it's popularized on the internet. But it works the same with any hard candy. And as I'm setting it up, just to explain where I got the idea for this one from, well, actually, set up and then I'll explain. So we see these beautiful, brightly colored, full of artificial colors, I'm sure. And I'm just going to put some of them relatively evenly spaced. and leave them in there to watch the colors diffusing out of it. And I'm going to put the yellow one right in the middle. And hopefully I can add a tiny bit more water without stirring it too much. No, it's already started to go. Okay, so I'm going to leave it to go there. And I'm just going to adjust the camera so you can see it a little bit closer up and from a little bit higher up. No. Comment? Si tu veux, oui, tu peux. Okay, and there, that's pretty stable there. And we see the colors spreading out from them. So far, nothing is too surprising in this effect. And okay, and just wait for it, because in about 30 seconds, your minds are going to be blown. Maybe you're familiar with this phenomenon already. But I got this idea from a high school leaving exam question from Israel. In Israel, they have practical exams for the schools there. And in the practical exams, they write the exam questions such that any student in the whole country should be able to get all of the equipment for the practical exam for less than the equivalent of about $5 American. So their old exams are a gold mine of ideas for different experiments you can do for dirt cheap. And I was lucky enough to meet Reuven, I'm blanking on his last name, but he's one of the people I've reached out to see if he can be a guest host. I haven't heard back from him yet. But he was telling me about it and measuring the diffusion constant with it. And as you can see, as I've been babbling along, we can see these lines starting to form. So the green has arrived at the red and doesn't want to mix. They've arrived at the yellow and they're being held away, so they're diffusing away from that. And it's just a really cool phenomenon. Like I was amazed when I first saw this, and I knew I needed to study it more and do experiments with students. So I'm not going to ruin the surprise by explaining things away. If you're interested in studying this one, then please join me on Wednesday morning where we'll go over this one in a little bit more detail. Non, je peux filmer l'effet juste un peu plus. Also just a note on that one, I had mentioned or put the recommended age, I think something like 12 to 16 years old, because doing some calculations for rate of diffusion, that gets a little bit complicated. But if anyone out there is younger and just wants to play around and see this effect, feel free to join as well. Just don't worry if you get a little bit lost in some of the numbers on that one. I kind of want to just keep watching it myself, but I don't want to drag that one on more than it has to. So I encourage you, if you did this at home, keep watching it. If not, then check it out and start playing around with it. But I'm going to put the camera back on me so I can finish previewing the last two ones and then move on with things. Okay, and I might look back down at that one and put the camera back down in it. I don't know, I just think it's like a really beautiful thing. Okay, I wanted to use that same tray for the next one. I'll use a plate for the next one with some of the water properties. And I'll just do a really quick demo of surface tension that I kind of like. Tu regardes les commentaires ou... Okay, and I was just reminded to check if there's any comments about...
The red is really spreading, yellow one is damaged. Practical exams is a good idea for my students.
Oh, awesome, yeah. Oh, and just the comments about how it was going, so the red is really going far, and someone said the yellow's damaged. So we can see as it's continued the importance of doing it on a level surface, and apparently my table isn't as level as I thought it was, because we can see... bon? Okay, so we can see there that there's been an effect of gravity taking it down kind of like this way. So things are kind of lopsided there. So I'll need to level my table before Wednesday morning, or figure out how to get things level. So that's something to watch out for on that one. Okay, surface tension ones. There's 2 ones for surface tension that I'm going to show you today. There's a lot more that I'll show you Thursday, so stick around for that. But I'm just going to fill my bottle with water, which is why I've walked out of the view of camera. Ah, c'est vrai. Je vais te demander dans une minute.
Red and green is now white.
Okay, so I'm going to take a wine glass here, and I'm going to take a piece of paper. Can you hand me a piece of paper, please? And this one has just as much to do with air pressure as it does with surface tension. And I'm just going to use this piece of paper on top of my glass. Hopefully I don't make a mess next to this book. I'm going to turn it upside down. And we can see that the water doesn't flow out of the glass.
What are you putting inside the wine glass?
Oh, the wine glass is just full of water. So I'll repeat this one again. It gets kind of messy as I turn it over. This may or may not work a couple of different times, but it's just like regular drinking water. Of course, me doing that doesn't necessarily narrow it down for you that it was water rather than something else I might drink. Okay, and it's full again. If it weren't so full, this wouldn't work as well. And I moved my book away because it doesn't always work every time, especially if you get an old piece of paper and you've been doing this a number of times. But I'm just going to give that another try. Okay, so like I said, it doesn't work every time, but you at least saw it working once. And I've made a little bit of a mess, so hopefully I've got a paper towel somewhere, or something to clean it up with, relatively nearby. On a pas de torchon.
T'inquiète pas, continue.
No. Okay. So while I'm getting a hand cleaning this up, I'm going to continue with another potentially messy demo. So I'm going to fill this bottle up with water because one water spill isn't enough.
Ça te va comme ça, vous de l'instant.
Perfect. Okay, so back with a bottle full of water. Oh, stepping in water. I need to change my socks after this. Okay, so forget where I was going with that idea. Anyways, the next demo of the same thing, I'm going to use this water bottle. Again, just full of water. Turn it upside down. And I'm holding the paper towel for a sec just because I don't want it to fall off. But notice the water isn't pouring out unless I squeeze the bottle. Oh, and then it's pouring out to the side because I've ripped the paper towel. So before I make too much of a mess, that's that same demo. One last one with surface tension, and on the recommended materials for today, I had put aluminum foil. So here I've got some aluminum foil. And I'm going to fill this dish. This dish.
Tu as besoin de nettoyer?
No, sorry, yeah, merci. This dish with a little bit of water. And if you end up joining Thursday's session on water properties, I've recommended you do it near a sink and in a place that you're okay getting wet. So me spilling water all over the desk is a good demonstration of how you should only do it somewhere where you're okay getting wet. Okay, so I'm going to take this piece of aluminum foil. Notice it's floating on top of the water. Yet those of you who know your properties of aluminum will know it's more dense than water. So I'm just going to push this down and now it's sinking. So far, so good. But now I'm going to bring the wine glass back in here, turn it over, put it on top of that, and I'm hoping that turns out well in the camera. If not, I'll repeat it, moving the camera around. But the water was pushed away by the air in the wine glass, and now when I fill it up again, the aluminum's floating again. So I'm going to repeat that one time in case it wasn't so clear. I'm going to try and do it without getting my computer wet. Just going to move to a drier area of the desk to finish off this session because it's just this demo and a quick talk about chromatography, and then that's it for today. So doing that again. Well, if anyone in the comments wants to add if it seemed like it was really clear already, then please do so. So I'll know like how much to focus on doing this again, but a little bit closer up and it's floating there. Push it down so it should sink. And repeating with the glass, upside down over top of it. The water's pushed out of the way, except a big drop on the top. It might be too big of one left there. Let's see. And no, now it's floating again. And I really like this one. And this one was demonstrated to me by someone who I really hope ends up joining as a guest host. It was Ivan Lomachenkov, who's I don't think he'd mind if I say he's the resident mad scientist. He's got a whole bunch of wonderful demonstrations with simple materials like that, and some with fairly practica for physics students who come visit there. And I really love the stuff that they have going on. So I emailed him and the director of the education department there, and they've gotten back to me, and they said they're going to be doing special lectures on particle physics, and they're interested in the project. So I don't know for sure if they're going to, like, if anyone from there is going to join me or not as a guest host, but it's kind of a cool place. So I'd like to thank them again for the time they welcomed me there. And they're keen to bring my students back there. My school hasn't been supportive of the idea, but we were planning on going there just independent from the school in November. So as long as things are open or whatnot by that time, then we'll be going to Russia to meet some of those people in person. Okay, and the last thing, I'm not going to do a full demonstration of chromatography because it's already been quite a long time. So I thank everyone who's stuck with me so far. But just as a preview of what we're going to see, one of the most exciting things for chromatography, this is a simple paper towel and washable marker chromatography. But it's this trace up here, which is the fluorescent one from a highlighter. And this is something I'm going to bring back into a session next week on fluorescence with colored light. I'm just working out some of the details on how you guys can all do that at home. But cool stuff coming up for chromatography. So that concludes the preview of the sessions that I'll be hosting on my own for the course of the week. Like I said before, my wonderful guest hosts will be hopefully hosting additional sessions or stepping into some of those sessions. So please check back to the calendar once I get all that sorted out. So that, because that's not on the calendar yet. As I said before, signups will be becoming available shortly after I finish this live stream. For the ones where it's with the Zoom room rather than here on YouTube, then you'll need a link to get into that Zoom room. So you'll need to have signed up to get the email that I send you to get into the room. And I'll limit the number of participants so there's not too many people if it's overly popular. Before I finish off, please let me know via the comments, or if anyone's using the overflow comment document, I'm going to check that again. If you have any questions about the materials you want to try and find to be ready for any of the sessions, or if anyone has any questions before I say goodbye to everyone.
Yes, will the session on chromatography includes the experiment we did in the theater school?
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's a question from Sinchana, and I think that's about the light show in January with some of the YES students, where we did a lot of things on color. So no, the chromatography one won't be based on the same stuff. That light show was all about all about light, and most of the ones we did were related to like light colors and lights combining or absorption of light. So I think we did show a colored fluorescence. So yeah, that's what I was mentioning with this band up top. So yeah, that part of it will be like it, but most of the session will be on the technique of chromatography, separating colors. So it'll be related, but none of it will be something that we directly did in that session. Okay, so some people are saying thank you, and thank you to everyone who joined me. Some of you guys are starting to take off now, so anyone who's leaving, thanks again for joining. I'll stay on for about another 5 minutes if there are any questions left. But if you are leaving, thank you again for joining me, and I hope to see you guys in the camps throughout this week. Please sign up and check the schedule. Any that get popular enough to be on YouTube again, you don't need to sign up. But again, for the Zoom rooms, you'll need to sign up. I'll give you guys another minute or two. If there are no more questions, then I'm going to say goodbye to everyone and end this up. And checking the overflow question document. It wasn't used at all, so it looks like everyone who wanted to ask questions was probably signed on to YouTube. Okay, and yeah, there's a question that it was going to be from 4 till 5:30, but it's only 5:20 now. So yeah, I'm cutting it short about 10 minutes. I just planned for a little bit of extra time in case things ran a little bit late or in case there were questions at the end. But I kind of planned, and my assistant can tell you guys the schedule I wrote up, which I got wet. My wet schedule, it actually does only go till 5:20. And after that was just for extra time in case things ran late, because I didn't want to get cut off or drag on longer than I said I would. Any book advice? Oh, cool. Book advice, I'm going to briefly feature my bookshelf here. You'll notice the top shelves are empty, and I'm planning on filling those up as the camps go on, so that I'll put materials from previous camps so I can grab them if anyone has a question from previous camps. The favorite books I'm looking at now, unfortunately, a lot of them aren't ones that you can easily like go out to a bookstore and buy because they're closed. Like, I've got a series of 4 books that I was given in February in Ghana. And these are from the Ghana Association of Science Teachers. And I got these to prepare stuff more related to their curriculum. So they're just relatively standard textbooks, but a cool thing that GAST has been introducing there is some of the hands-on investigations that they encourage teachers to do. So, I don't know, things like how to read a measuring cylinder. There's a good one on air. This actually gave me a new idea. When I was about to do a workshop the next day, I borrowed these books for ideas. How to make things more useful for the teacher that I was running the workshop for there. So these are some of my current favorite books. This one I like as well too. If Marinko's still on, he'll probably recognize this one from Alexa Nats. And they have a physics conference. I don't know if it ended up getting canceled last month or it ended up still going on. I wasn't able to make it back to Serbia for that one. But it's about teaching physics, and this is like a summary of what different teachers and other people have brought to teach physics there. It's also a good chance for me to practice my Cyrillic Serbian. That's one of my favorite ones I've been pulling off the shelf. This is another one. You can see it's written for kids. And it's in Spanish, but this is written by Melina Fineman. Her name's on there somewhere. And she's one of the people I've been meaning to contact to see if she can be a guest host. She was in one of my videos in my YouTube channel when I was in Argentina. And it's got a lot of hands-on experiments in it. But this has probably been a bit beside the point on like recommendations for books. This one's available on the internet, and it's okay. Well, no, I'll go ahead and say it's good. It just wasn't as excellent as I hoped when I got it, but it's good. It's a very solid book that's got like a couple of quick things. Each of it is like a 2 or 3 page, like here's the science of brain freeze. And it goes into like some of the science behind why your head hurts when you eat ice cream. And it's from the popular YouTube channel ASAP Science. They do some pretty good stuff. They're based in Toronto, where I'm from, but I haven't yet actually met them. They've never replied to my emails. Yeah. Let me know in the comments if you the intent. Oh, Marika says, "Wow," probably from the book there. And 1 or 2 more books, just because I like my books. And if anyone has any good books to recommend to me, recommend books to me as well. Oh yeah, these 2. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. 4 more books to mention, and then that's it with books. And yeah, I'll end with that one. Okay. This one's a really cool one. It's a onology, like oenology or winemaking, and it's the textbook for BTS Superior, which is like the winemaker's qualification if you're doing a technical college program in it here. And I borrowed this from a friend when I was working at a winery in Chile a couple of years ago. And I want to get to the diagram of the structure of a grape, because yeah, just so like one of the first pages of the book. And this inspired me to come up with a program when I was teaching Catrium biology, where we'd look at the different parts of the grape and the different stages of the life cycle of a vine to teach most of their biology project through like a going to the vines thing. In the end, that didn't end up being picked up by my school, so I never did that. But I got this book, which is a good reference if you want to look into the science behind winemaking. Jules Verne, Paris in the 20th Century, great classic. These were lent to me by a neighbor, and I forgot to return them, so I should go back to where I used to live and give them back. But these are pretty good ones, like especially considering like what I'd considered the average to be for French literature for science, but like some of it's got like standard questions, but it gives some examples for experiments. This one's a cool one, and there's a cool video on Veritasium about it as well. But a problem, if you're pulling backwards on a pedal to the bike while holding it still, will the bike go forwards or backwards? And it's interesting to think about from mechanical advantage. So I'd recommend that as like something to think about as a specific problem. And then to finish off with Richard Fineman. Surely you're joking, Mr. Fineman. So great Nobel Prize winner, youngest scientist on the Manhattan Project, and like all around cool book. And like this one, and this one at least, I'm sure are available online. So if anywhere that delivers is still open in your countries, or if bookstores are open, like these ones would be widely available. The others, it's probably reasonably hit and miss. So kind of dragged on with some long book recommendations. I think I might have bored some people who decided to leave. Good book from Fineman. Thanks for agreeing, Ozan. Time to learn French and Serbian. Yeah, I definitely need to pick up more Serbian. And Turkish probably. There's always many things to learn. I think going through my bookshelf, I've managed to bore a number of people off of here, and it's time to finish anyway. So I'm gonna finish by again thanking everyone who joined me. Anyone in Serbia, hvala lepa. I think that's thank you very much in Serbian. If I haven't forgotten the little Serbian I've picked up. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining me. This is an exciting adventure for me trying to do this, and I really appreciate everyone who's joined in and trying out, following along at home, and especially my guest hosts. So thanks again, everyone. Stay home, stay safe, and above all, stay curious.